Hello there, I'm Tabletop Toby. Today we're going to be looking at the new solo game from Chip Theory, which is 20 Strong. Now 20 Strong is the base game. It's kind of like Final Girl, if you're familiar with that, where there's a base game and then you have to have additional components, things, I don't know what you would call them, and you combine those with the components of the main game, and then that creates the different iterations. So right now there are 3 different iterations. There are Solar Sentinels, Too Many Bones, and Hoplomachus Victorum. Today we're going to dive in first with Too Many Bones. And so the dice are played with all of them, and then this poker chip, which of course Chip Theory, that's kind of their thing, and they even joked like, of course we couldn't release a dice game and not have a poker chip in it. So it's this funky little magnetic thing that has 2 sides, and so you can use it as a counter or for different things going on. And then basically the difference in iterations, at least for the 3 that exist now, come with cards, and those are added to the dice and the poker chip and form different kinds of play. And I'm actually impressed that the 3 different iterations are so different. So we'll do a playthrough of all of them at some point. We're going to start with Too Many Bones. I think Solar Sentinels is maybe the most straightforward in some ways. Too Many Bones gets a little bit more complex potentially in terms of the stacks and how you play out the game. But then Hoplomachus Victorum is the most complicated, and it's becoming my favorite because there's a lot of different strategic decisions to make there, and kind of long-term planning that you have to do to succeed in that game. Whereas Too Many Bones and Solar Sentinels feel more tactical. You kind of deal with what's in front of you in that moment. And that is true with Hoplomachus Victorum as well. However, you can actually look and see the mini bosses and bosses and what they do. And sometimes if you don't look, which I discovered in my first playthrough, then you are totally screwed and there's no chance that you can win. So you've really got to look at those, or maybe it'll just be a huge struggle. So whereas you planned for some of those counters in that version. But today we're going to be doing the Too Many Bones version. So let's get in there and kind of see how it works. Okay, now it's called 20 Strong because there's 20 dice, but it's a little misnomer because you actually don't have 20 dice troops. I don't know if you want to call them that. 3 of them keep track of your stats. You have the health die, you have the stamina die, and you have the recovery die. Now these health is obvious. If you go below 1 health, you die. Each character that you choose has stats, and this is true for all 3 iterations that you start with, and then you can improve these. You can either add to your health pool or with the stamina. This represents how many times you can re-roll. There's a strategy phase where you can re-roll die, you get a assign die, and it also represents your inventory, how many items you can hold in your inventory. You can earn items in battle by defeating enemies, or in the case of Too Many Bones, just grabbing a inventory item, and then you can unlock its abilities later on. So that one serves a dual function. And then recovery is, and there's a recovery phase, you roll dice, you assign them, you defeat the enemies, whatever that is, and you go through another round and you can recover, and that's how many you can take from your exhausted dice. So managing your dice and how many you have left and how many are exhausted and what your recovery rate is kind of important. Now in the Too Many Bones iteration, you might have several rounds that you're going through with enemies, so it's expected you'll lose health with those at the end of that round, and you have to go back because you have to defeat them all. So that one's a little different than the way Solar Sentinels works. I kind of appreciate it's different, although obviously it gets a little complex if you're trying to explain to someone else. But it's a solo game, so maybe you just explain it to yourself. It's fine. Now, just talking about the 17 dice that you have here, there's a red one, then there's purple, blue, green, and yellow, and 4 of each of those. In the descending order that I gave there is how powerful each kind of die is. So for example, the red one is all hits and there's 1 crit size. And sadly, my red, most important, strongest die, the crit side, there's a flaw where it didn't print all the way. I did submit a customer service request, and they sent a reply saying, hey, we're still waiting for all of our main shipments of all of our stuff, so please be patient. We'll be able to replace your stuff in January, and that's totally fine. Honestly, if it weren't the red die, which is the strongest die, I may not even have worried about it. And then each other one has one critical side, and then the rest, it just varies. So purple, there's one miss, all hits, and one of those is critical. For blue, there are 2 misses. For green, you got 3 misses, and for the yellow, it's 4 misses, so there's just 1 hit and 1 critical hit. So for too many bones, you have the Tyrant. There are several of these. I chose Barnacle, and it tells you on it what the setup is, so you can take that into consideration in terms of how you're playing the game. So for the Barnacle, collect all Tyrant encounters, we'll talk about those in a minute, still in the encounter stacks, and place them tentacle side up in the active area with Barnacle. These are Barnacle's tentacles. Tentacles are non-Tyrant baddies. So what this means is how many Tyrant encounters are left in this encounter stack over here. That's how many other baddies you have to face at the same time as you face Barnacle. So you may want to try to get through this stack and get rid of those so the boss encounter is not as challenging, but that's up to you. And so each one you can look at those and read, so it involves a little bit of planning. And then once you get to the Tyrant phase and choose to face the Tyrant, you do the setup on this side and you turn it over. Now, part of this card, there's a number on the front, and there's a day counter here. So each day, you move the day counter up, so you cannot face Barnacle until it's day 8. So those numbers are different for each Tyrant, but if you reach day 12, you have to face the Tyrant on that day, no matter who the Tyrant is. So that's your kind of end game. There's only going to be 12 entire rounds. Now for the Gearlocs, there's also several of these you can choose from. I'm not going to go through them now, but as I mentioned, these do have the starting stats here. And then for the Gearloc heroes in Too Many Bones, they each have a special ability and then a backup plan ability. And then you can also upgrade them and flip to the other side. And then you have the innate plus side that gives you an even better ability. So let's just look at who we chose. So we chose Duster. Duster's innate ability is in the suffer damage step. There are 2+ active enemies. Even if defeated, reduce the damage suffered by 1. So a little bit of kind of armor there. And then the backup plan, and the way the backup plans work is in the roll phase. If you have misses in the apply stage, which we'll talk about in a bit, you can apply the misses. There's 4 different colors here, and then you can use one of these to do the backup plan ability, which in this case is Shadowcaster. During activation, adjust the BQ by +1 or -1 baddie point. And so what this is talking about is on a given day, you have to choose to either fight enemies or engage in an encounter. And if you choose to battle, you can expend one of the dice that have been slotted in the backup plan to remove one of the enemies or add another one if you want to add them, which is possible in this game, which is a little weird. You may want to add an enemy because of the reward or a special ability they have, something like that. Now, we talked about being able to upgrade the Gearloc heroes, and the way this works is if you have all 4 of your backup plan slots filled, then you can exhaust those, use those, and you unlock the other side. In this case, it's Direwolf, the innate +1 side. In the suffer damage step, if there are 2+ active enemies, even if defeated, so that's just like the condition on the other side, either reduce the damage suffered by 1, so that's the first side, or after suffering damage, deal the same amount of damage to a baddie if it would be defeated by this damage. So it's kind of a reaction ability. And then the backup plan for Duster is the same still. Now what also happens when you upgrade is you get to upgrade, in this case, stamina and recovery. So you immediately get to add 1 to those dice and improve those. And then I've already set up these 3 stacks, which are the battle stacks and the encounter stack. And I'm not going to go into the setup of those. It's fairly straightforward. The directions are good about that. There's other issues I have with the direction, and maybe I'll bring those up when I do a review of this. But in terms of the setup for these particular stacks, it's fairly straightforward. So you have your 1-point baddies and your 5-point baddies, and these are face up, so you do get to see who you might fight if you choose to battle. And then the encounter stack, it actually has 3 different encounters types. So this top one is one of the 3 encounter types. This is a lockpicking encounter. When you choose to do this on your turn, you just put this in your inventory, and that's basically that day for you. But what happens is it's sitting in your inventory, it does take up a slot, and during battle, if you have hits that match to these colors, you get to slot them there, and we have all 3 slotted. In this case, you get to flip this card over, and then you have this item that you can use, in this case, lightning on a stick, which indefinitely you may exhaust 1 die from your dice pool to change all active misses of that color to a hit. So it's kind of a cost of exhausting a die from your pool to have that effect. And what's interesting about the lockpicking encounters is when you do unlock these go back into your dice pool. They don't get used up and exhausted. The next type of encounter in your encounter deck is the Tyrant encounters. And these all, to a certain extent, may affect the setup of the Tyrant. In this case, it affects how many tentacles Barnacle has, because any of these that are left in here will flip over and become one of Barnacle's tentacles. And what the Tyrant encounters are kind of challenges, extra challenge layers to battle. So this one is at the start of battle, choose the baddie with the highest health. Your choice if tied, that baddie has +4 health. So you're adding health to one of the baddies, and then you get to remove this, discard this from that deck, and then that'll make things a little easier. The last type of encounter of the 3 in the encounter deck is a Mohlnor encounter. These, you have a choice. You can either cause a battle, in this case, baddie points, which is the day. So we haven't talked about this yet, and this card is a good reason for us to do that. Basically, when you battle, so on day 1, you would battle a 1-point baddie. And so that's 1. If it were day 4, you would do 4 of the 1-point baddies. So you would do 4 of those. Now there's also 5-point baddies. So once you get to day 5, you'll fight a 5-point baddie and kind of there. So if you're up to 10, you would do 2 5-point baddies, and that's how that works. So with the Mohlnor encounters, in this case, on this particular one, you add 1 1-point baddie, and you basically, a battle is triggered right away due to that. And then you get to discard this out of the encounter deck, and that's because you may want to get to those Tyrant encounters or get to the lockpicking encounters. Now here you have a choice though. You can also exhaust all the dice in your backup plan, minimum of 1, then recover up to 2 dice, and then you get to discard this. Now, one final thing on these, you may notice it says, if scouted, banish 1 die or -1 health. So that's a good reason for us to get down back here at the table. Now on days that you battle, once you've defeated all the enemies, you can either rest, which means you get +1 health, so you get to recover a little bit, or you can scout. And what that means is you can, if you want, take one of these cards and move it up 1 to reveal what's underneath it. And this is because sometimes you don't want some of these, or they're super negative things, or because of your setup, it may be hard to defeat them. And so you can do that with both stacks. Now you can only scout in this direction. You can't move these back down. And then when you battle, you can choose if you had a 1-point battle, you could choose between one of those. If you had a 6-point battle, you could choose this one and this one, or this one and this one, or this one, this one, this one, this one. So those are your options. So back to these Mohlnor encounters. So this says, if scouted, banish 1 die or -1. So you could say, oh, I don't really want to do this for whatever reason. So if you scout it and you move it up here, then you have to take that penalty in order to scout it and get to the next thing, which in this case is another Mohlnor encounter. But if it's a lockpicking encounter, then that's just going to move up. If it's a Tyrant encounter, then that also just can move up. So you can kind of go through the stack however you want, but just in that one direction. And then there are other abilities, rewards, that allow you to scout based on that card as well. Sometimes just once, sometimes multiple times. All right, and I think that's enough for us to kind of dive in here and show you what's going on. So I'm just gonna shuffle these back up, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, it's day 1, so let's begin our adventure. So the first thing you do on each day in the 2 mini bones, 20 strong, is you do the day counter. And then you get to choose whether you want to fight baddies or do one of the encounters. So let's first look at what this encounter is. So this is small spotting scope. This is a lock-picking encounter. So this, if we unlock it, backup plan extension. 1. Scout. If you scout a Mohlnor encounter, do not incur the penalty. So when it says backup plan extension 1, that means this sits in your inventory and you can actually use 1 because it's backup plan extension 1. If it were 2, then it would require 2 dice. But in this case, it just requires 1 to exhaust these, and you get to use this item for exhausting 1 of the dice. So we can just take that item, that would be our entire turn, or we can fight the Tipsy Troll. So the Tipsy Troll, the symbol means that this condition is present until this enemy is defeated. When this enemy is defeated, then this condition is removed right away. So the condition is, in each roll die step, if at least 1 dice is rolled, either change an unapplied hit to a miss or return a die that is applied to an undefeated baddie to the dice pool. That's just kind of a little obnoxious thing that will occur anytime we have a miss. So we might want to use dice that have higher hit possibilities to avoid having to face that consequence. So that might be an easier one to do in our first round. And then it tells you what the reward here is at the bottom, which in this case is the electric symbol, which means you get a scout. And now any of the electricity symbols are instant rewards. That happens the minute that the baddie is defeated. If it's like this, the down arrow, that's an item, and so that will go into your inventory if you would like. So we could take the small spotting scope, and maybe that would be a good thing. It's going to be a tool that allows us to cycle through those Mohlnor encounters because we want to get to the Tyrant encounters in that deck so that we can reduce the number of tentacles that Barnacle's going to have. So I think we're going to take that. And so we can hold up to 3 items right now. That's going to take 1 of the slots. And that's basically our entire first day is just getting that lockpicking encounter. So pretty easy. Because we didn't battle, we don't get to do the rest or scout option. And that is our first day. So we do go to day 2. Now we can do this big baddie breakup Tyrant encounter, which is, so it says battle baddie points. So in this case, that's going to be 2. That's the number of our days. So it's saying we just fight based on the number of days. And this is at the start of the battle, choose the baddie with the highest health. All critical hits applied to this baddie are banished during the exhaust dice setup. Now we haven't talked about banished dice yet. Banished dice aren't exhausted, they just go away. Now there are some things that can cause banished dice to be recovered, but generally they're going to be out of the game forever. So you only have 17 dice. Too many of those get banished, then that can be a problem. It's actually fortunate that we have encountered a Tyrant encounter this early, and I think we should probably go ahead and do it. So we're going to take this Tyrant encounter, and so at the start of battle, choose the baddie with the highest health, all critical hits applied. So we don't want to apply critical hits. Now we're on day 2, so with this battle we have to take basically the top 2 from the stack no matter what they are. So we know we have the Tipsy Troll, and then we also have Kralin Lure. Kralin Lure says, so this is start. This means it's a special thing that's just for this one. In the first roll die step of each engagement, banish 1 die roll. Now when it says engagement, that's kind of the round, so we can do 3 strategy rounds, and we're going to get into that as we do this first battle. Okay, so in battle, the stamina stat shows us how many times we can do the dice selection, rolling, applying everything before enemies damage us. They damage us based on their damage stat here. So if we reach the end of our 3rd strategy phase and any of these baddies are still alive, they're going to damage us all together, adding up to that number. Now the strategy phases consist of committing dice, which is selecting which dice you're going to roll, and those remain committed until the end of that engagement, until you go through the how many ever cycles of strategy that you have. You can add to those, but you can't take those back away unless you have things that say that you can remove those, which exist. And then you roll those dice in the roll dice phase. You can apply those then in the apply phase. So you can apply hits to these creatures. When they're defeated, they're turned, and then you get rewards depending on the timing of the reward. So for these two, they're both these electric symbols, which are instantaneous, which means the moment that baddie is defeated, you get that reward. So with Tipsy Troll, it's Scout, which you get to scout, as we discussed earlier, to reveal one of these cards. Or with Kralin Lore, that reward is an instantaneous getting to increase your recovery to 3. So that's huge to get this early in the game. So that's a good one. But Kralin Lore has a condition that we need to be aware of. In the first roll die step of each engagement, banish 1 die roll. So we know we want to choose a yellow die because it's going to get banished based on that. And then we hopefully do not get to a second engagement, second set of our strategy rounds. And if you're confused by some of what I said, that's part of the thing with this game. It's a little complicated to read and figure out. Once you're in the flow of it, it totally makes sense. And that's why I did not do kind of a full outlay of the rules to begin with, because I think it's much better when you see someone actually doing it in this particular case. I think that's true of a lot of games, but in particular this one. If you just explain the rules to someone, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? When you actually see it done, it kind of makes sense. Okay. Tipsy Troll says in each roll die step, if at least 1 miss is rolled, change an unapplied hit to a miss or return a die that's applied. So you have to take a die back that you put on an enemy, or you have to change one of the other ones that are a hit into a miss. So that's kind of annoying, Tipsy Troll. And then we have to be aware of this big baddie breakup, which says at the start of the battle, choose the baddie with the highest health, which is this one. All critical hits applied are banished. That means they're taken out of the game, basically. There may be ways for us to bring those back depending on what comes up, but we have to kind of assume that that die is gone. So we do not want to apply critical hits to Tipsy Troll if we can help it. That's actually a good draw early in the game, so we don't want to apply. You almost always want to use your red die unless something about the encounter or the battle says that you can't apply it, because it's always going to be a hit or a critical hit out of 1 of 6 possibility. So that's 1. We need 3 hits for Tipsy Troll. So 2, 3. This one's going to get banished right away. And we need 2 more. Now we might get a critical, which we could apply to Kralin Lore. So we're just going to choose 1 more purple. And we get 3 rounds of this, so let's just see what happens this first one. All right, we got, well, because of Tipsy Troll, maybe we didn't want 2 criticals. Normally that might be good, but let's go ahead and do Kralin Lore. In the first roll die step of each engagement, banish 1 die roll. That's why we chose this yellow. Now, we only want to apply regular hits to Tipsy Troll. We did get a miss, so we have to change one of these to a miss. I think we're going to change, so we can't change the red to a miss. What we're going to do is we're going to change one of the purples to a miss. Well, actually, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change this purple critical hit to a miss. And so that does the Tipsy Troll condition. We're going to apply this 2 critical red to Krellin Lore to kill him. And because that's an electricity immediate benefit, we're going to change our recovery to 3. We're going to apply these 2 regular hits to Tipsy Troll. And then we just want a regular hit on this die. Now we're not including additional dice to try to get the backup plan just because of Tipsy Troll, because that's really annoying, because the misses that you roll, you have to change the others to misses. Okay, so we're going to re-roll this. Well, no, I think we're going to stick with this. So we did get a regular hit. So now no misses, so his condition is applied. We didn't apply any critical hits, so that's covered. So Tipsy Troll is defeated. His reward is instant, which is Scout, so we get to reveal this. We're just sticking with the 1-point baddies at this point because we're still a couple days away from hitting the 5-point ones. And then the next phase would be anytime all of them are defeated, then that ends an engagement. So you would apply any hits from the baddies, but all of them are defeated. You then would apply any after effects, which there's a little symbol for those. None of these baddies have that, and those happen whether the baddie is defeated or not, and they're usually not good. So you want to look at those at the beginning of the battle just to determine if that affects anything you're doing. You then exhaust dice, which means any applied or unapplied committed dice all go to the exhaust area. And then you recover. So based on this number, which is 3 now, so we're obviously going to do the red and then 2 purples. So we just have the 1 exhausted purple die right now. You next gain item rewards because in this case, there's no item rewards. They were all instant effects. So that's done. And then you move to cleanup, which means you discard any of the baddies that you defeated that were not item rewards. We completed the Tyrant encounter, yay for us. We've already cut off one of the tentacles of Barnacles, so Barnacle's already weaker before we even face him. So that goes in discard, which is good for us. And then because we did do a battle day, we get to choose to recover 1 health, or add 1 health in this case, or we can scout. Now we already scouted, so we can just look and see what this other character is. So this is Dork. This baddie gains a +1 damage for each other face-up axe type character. So each enemy baddie has a symbol, and they may apply for situations like that where there's a reference. So it's actually good for us in this case that there's no other blue axes around. And then we can look at this Krellin Darkstalker. So it says skip the recover dice step. So if you're doing multiple engagement with this one, then that would kind of suck because you're not getting your dice back. The reward for him is place 1 banished die back in your dice pool. So we could actually get this yellow die back, which would be great. I think, because those seem like okay. This one just has 1 health. This one has 2, so that could be potentially pretty easy to defeat. I think we're just going to take a health increase of 1 for that last step of the cleanup phase and the Too Many Bones iteration. And then we are moving to day 3. So let's first look, so we get to choose battle or encounter. We have another one of our Tyrant encounters here, which is good. So this is Fire and Brimstone. In this economy, EQ is baddie points, so that's day 3. So we'll be doing 3 1 baddies, and we have all of our dice except for 1 purple and the 1 banished yellow. And it says red and purple cannot be committed this battle. Now it's early, and we have a lot of dice, and we want to actually get some misses here. So this is also a good draw for us to have early in the game. So I think we're going to do that. We could also potentially throw blues in so we could unlock this one. And we are very fortunate. The several games that I played of this, I've had to like search through for the Tyrant encounters or just accept that I was going to have several of them that have whatever negative setup effect for the Tyrant. So good for us, I guess. So we're going to do this Fire and Brimstone. We basically have to do, well, could do 3 from this and leave this one, but this is place 1 banish die back in your pool, so probably want that one, but I think we're going to take from this just in case the one underneath is annoying, or I don't know, I guess we're going to have to take the one underneath no matter what, so I don't think it makes a difference. But what we could do is take 2 from here first, and then we can choose between this one and the one underneath there. So that's probably what we'll do. So we have Dork, which we already talked about. So this one that we're going to have to do one way or another is Owlbear Cub. So the ability while Owlbear Cub is alive, this baddie has +1 health for each other face-up purple symbol, purple paw, which there is 1. This baddie's damage is equal to the highest damage on face-up baddie. So it's just 2 right now, so that's not the worst. The reward is instantaneous. Slot up to 2 exhausted dice into your backup plan, so you get to take these directly in here, which is actually good for the purple one because it's hard to get misses with purple because there's only 1 of the 6 sides, so to be able to just jump it in there is actually pretty good. So that's going to be the second baddie. We're going to have to do a third. So we have the choice between the Drellin Darkstalker, which we talked about, skip the recovery die step, and then being able to get one of our banished die back. So this is Mech Polaris. So the ongoing condition while Mech Polaris is alive is in each roll die step, count the rolled misses, take that many unapplied hits, and re-roll them. So not as bad as the prior one we had, but still a little annoying. And then recover up to 2 dice as the instant reward. That could be handy because we may end up, since we can't use red and purple in this battle, we may end up needing to roll more dice than we would otherwise, so being able to recover up to 2 dice seems like a good thing. So we're going to do that. So now we cannot use red or purple. So the next strongest is blue. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this one gets extra health because of that one being face up. 6, 7 we have to get. So hopefully we'll get some criticals. We do get 3 rounds of rolls. So 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to use a lot of die, but we may be able to hopefully do some of that stuff as well. We're going to throw in a yellow because maybe we can get a miss and slot that. And hopefully we get a few criticals. Let's kind of see how this goes on the first round, and then we'll take it from there. Ooh, we got several criticals, so this is really good for us. We got no misses to put in our backup plan, though. I think we're actually going to be able to defeat them in the first round, but we could also maybe unlock that. So let's take a look. So we have 2. This is 3 health and 2. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guess we'll do 7. So, okay, so in the apply die step, we can actually slot these here. So we get those 2. And then basically, well, we'll address those in a minute. So, oh, I wasn't thinking about in the Mech Polaris, it's instant recover up to 2 dice, but we actually are going to be using that one, so that was a mistake. Well, can't win them all. So we're going to kill the Owlbear Cub, which has 3 health because of its special thing. Slot to 2 exhausted dice into your backup plan. So we're going to do that, and we're going to slot that there. We're going to kill Dork, which allows us to scout right away. So we can look at the next baddie here, Dragon Whelp. The ongoing condition is at the end of the first engagement of the battle. Ooh, -1 stamina. So we want to defeat Dragon Whelp in the first engagement. The instant reward is recover 1 die. So, So next is going to be day 4. I think we're actually going to scout because this would force us into a battle in the next round, and we have to get to day 8 anyway, so it might be good to take our time a little bit. So we're going to scout this. So we have gadget armor, so a red, purple, and blue hit. Anytime you reduce health, you may reduce recovery or stamina instead for some or all of your health reduction. It could be helpful, but those stats are super important, so I'm not really loving that, but that is what we have. And so that's the scout. And then we have two more that we're going to apply to Mech Polaris, which we can recover up to 2 dice, but that was a mistake. We should have chosen the other one first. Oh well. And so we have no dice to recover because we have no exhausted dice. And that means the encounter is over. Now, when you get these lockpicking encounters completed, these do not get exhausted, unlike when you do the backup plan. These go back into your pool, and then they're flipped over and become an item. So now if we are scouting a Mohlnor encounter, we could use a die from here and not have to take the negative consequence. Of course, we haven't run across one of those yet, but we didn't know that would be the case. So that's what we have in our inventory, if it's useful or not. If not, we can always discard it. And so the encounter is complete. We don't have any suffer damage, which is the Duster special ability, but we're so good we don't even need it. I mean, come on. And then there's no after effects. We exhaust all of these dice that we rolled. Unfortunately, we didn't get any misses that would have helped us. We could have tried to re-roll, I guess. Maybe we should have. And then we get a recover 3. So we're going to take our strongest, the blues, 1, 2, and then a green, those 3. And then we would gain any item rewards, but they were all instant rewards. So we're right on to cleanup, which discard all of those. We get to discard the fire and brimstone in this economy because we accomplished that. We're kind of kicking the tyrant encounters, chopping off those barnacle tentacles. And then now we get the choice of scouting or additional health. I think we have a lot of information here. We could remove this dragon whelp if we wanted, but I think I have a plan about that. So we're just going to take the +1 health, so up to 3 there, and then we're on to day 4. So you see it moves pretty quickly, really. It's just kind of gauging your risk and rewards around these specific battles. And what we're going to do this day, I've already decided, is we're just going to take this. Even though I'm not super excited about the gadget armor, which gives you the option of reducing these instead of health, it does increase your health maybe for the boss battle, but it also just gets rid of this day, and so we're up to day 5. Because I didn't want to fight the dragon whelp with several of the others, and then now we'll hopefully be able to manage 1/5, I think is a little better than the 4 because of the different effects that kind of get stacked. So we're going to take that. That completes our day. Because we didn't battle, we don't get a cleanup phase, so we don't get an increased health or scout, and we just jump right to day 5. Now, we didn't talk about this other tyrant encounter that we have, legendary halfling. So BQ is baddie points, which in this case would be 5. In the first engagement of this battle, red, purple, and blue cannot be committed. So we could choose to take 2 hit points of damage to go through a cycle of not having other die placed, and then we might be able to apply them there. And then we'd have that done. That's interesting. Maybe you want to do that. Let's see here. Because if we could get some of those filled in and upgrade Duster, that would be awesome. Now we do have this Mohlnor encounter that was revealed in our last turn, so let's take a look at that. Cartographer's Nightmare. So BQ baddie points, add 1 1-point baddie to a battle. Or select a discarded Tyrant encounter at random and place it on the bottom of the encounter deck, then increase recovery. So although it's bringing a Tyrant back and it's putting it on the bottom, that could actually be good for us to make us stronger. And what's interesting is we've already defeated 2 of the Tyrant encounters. We have the 3rd here, so we at a minimum would have 2. Okay, well, we can consider that. I think for now we're going to go ahead and try to knock out a 3rd Tyrant encounter. So this is battle BQ baddie points, which is 5. So we're going to take on this dire wolf, which we haven't really looked at yet. So the ongoing condition is at the end of the first apply dice step of each engagement, -2. Oh, that's kind of problematic in that we talked about taking 2 damage. Maybe we'll reconsider. So the benefit is an item. Ignore the effect of a single non-tyrant baddie for the remainder of this engagement. So one of these annoying effects, like that one, you could actually ignore. So we can't do purple, blue. So we only have 4 dice that we could even use for the first round, and we get... Ugh, that's not good. I don't think that's going to work for us because we would take 2 hits there and then 2 again, and then we'd be dead. Ugh, we need to scout that away, man. We need more health. That direwolf is very problematic. I wish maybe I would have looked ahead and focused on that, and I could have scouted it away, but I didn't. So now we are where we are. Now, what we could do is do this Mohlnor encounter, select a discard Tyrant encounter at random and gain recovery, or we could just fight the direwolf and ignore. I think that's maybe actually our better bet. Well, what we could do is do this Cartographer's Nightmare now, put one of those Tyrant encounters back in, get better recovery, and then when we fight the direwolf without doing this, we'll actually get more dice back. So we could do Fire and Brimstone, which was the red and purple cannot be applied, or the Big Baddie Breakup, which is you can't apply critical hits. I think you can't apply critical hits is maybe better, possibly. So this goes on the bottom, which means that we complete the Cartographer's Nightmare, and then we get to increase our recovery to 4. So that was day 5. There was not a cleanup phase. Oh, and we revealed our 4th Tyrant encounter. So really thick skin. BQ is baddie points, so that's whatever the day is. At the start of your battle, choose the baddie with the highest health. That baddie has 4 extra health. So even though we put the 1 Tyrant encounter on the bottom, we have 2 more that we could potentially get rid of, which could be helpful. We may want to strengthen ourselves a little bit more, though it would be nice to have more stamina and more recovery, but we'll see what happens. We are on day 6 now, so once we get to day 8, then we can fight Barnacle. And I think for this day, we're going to do really thick skin, and we're up to 6, so we're going to do the Dire Wolf, which is going to have 9 health, and we're going to do the Dragon Whelp, which has that scary at the end of the first engagement, reduced stamina. So we got to defeat these, so it's going to be 9, 10, 11. So looking at committing dice, we're going to do 4, 8. We're going to really hope for some criticals. And I think we're going to do 1 of each of these to maybe fill in those as well. So it's kind of putting a lot of resources into this, but hopefully it gets us someplace good. Okay, so we have lots of criticals, which is good. So let's go ahead and kill the Dragon Whelp so we know we don't have to deal with that at the end of the first engagement. And the immediate reward is recover 1 die, so we'll recover 1 of our green. And then, so Direwolf is at the end of the first applied die step of each engagement -2. So we're just going to go ahead and do that because we know it's going to happen. We're in the middle of the apply die step now. So we need 5 plus these extra 4, 9. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7. So first off, we're going to take this blue, miss, this green, miss, and put those in the backup plan so we can maybe upgrade Duster and get our stats up to help us fight the Tyrant. And then we're going to apply, so this is 2, we need 9, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're going to go ahead and do this, so that's 5. Now, the purples we can hope for criticals on. We do get a roll 3 times. We're going to go ahead and throw a yellow in, though, because if we can get a yellow miss, then we can actually upgrade Duster. So this could really help us. So we're going to add that one, and we're going to roll again. Come on, we want a yellow miss. Darn it. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we don't have to apply all these. It's a choice, and we get to roll one more time. So we're going to re-roll just so that we can try to get that yellow miss. So we're going to do, so that gets us to 8. We only need one more there, and we know we're going to hit with red. So now we just want a yellow miss. Why can't we get a yellow miss? It should be the easiest one to get. Oh well. So we definitely are killing the direwolf. So that's good, I guess. And the battle is then over. So we would apply any damage to us, which we don't have any, which is good because we only have 1 health after our stupid direwolves thing. We would then apply any after effects. We still don't have any of those yet. There's a lot of those in Solar Sentinels. We then exhaust the dice. So that's all of those. So we are very reduced right now. But because we did that Mohlnor encounter, we do get to recover 4 now. So we'll do 1. We're going to bring one of these yellows so we can try to get the mist to upgrade Duster. So that's 2. And then we're going to do both of the purples for the others, 3, 4. And then we do item rewards. So this was an instant effect. So we get this item, which is Spirits of Ebon. Ignore the effect of a single non-tyrant baddie for the remainder of this engagement. So that goes here. We can hold it because we have 3 slots based on our stamina. Then we go into cleanup phase. So this goes into discard. Tyrant encounter goes into discard. And then we get to choose a health or a scout. So the next day is going to be day 7. So let's take a look and see if we want to scout beyond one of these. So our 5-point baddie is Goblin Artificer. So at the start of each engagement, roll and exhaust a die from your dice pool. If you roll a miss, -1 health. If there are any misses in the active area, banish one of them. Ooh, and it's an instant reward of increasing this or this. Now there is an after effect, finally, so you all can see what that symbol looks like. If there are any misses in the active area, banish one of them. Wow. So that's at the end. After effects don't happen until the end of battle, so you would want to try to end the battle with no misses left in the play area. And then we have the Troll Hermit was revealed. At the start of battle, -2 to the health of any other active baddie to a minimum of 1. Oh, so that's interesting. It's actually a beneficial one. But this baddie has 4 health, so a little bit stronger of a baddie. The instant reward is to recover 1 die, but that could help us with the Goblin Artificer, potentially. So it's going to be 7, so we could face this one, and this one. This one is skip the recovery phase. But if this is damage 2 to this one, that's down to 2. That's only 1, but we only have 6 dice. So this is a tight position. So we would need 2, 6, 7 from 6 dice, which is definitely possible. Thing is, if we roll a miss with the Goblin Artificer thing and are down to 1, or that could kill us, actually, if we don't take the health now. I think we have to take the health now to finish off this day. So that finishes off this day. And let's go ahead and move on. We're already in the middle of trying to make this decision. So now this Mohlnor encounter knockoff Ebonite goods is BQ baddie points plus 1 point extra baddie, or discard an item then scout. So we can discard that gadget armor, which I don't always love because it is getting rid of your stats that allow you to roll more dice. And so maybe we do that so we can see what another 5-point option is. Although we're gonna be at day 8 then, so. But I don't love that -1, but the rewards are good. There's just a huge risk there because we can't kill them all. Right. So we're going to do that. We're going to use this Mohlnor encounter, discard an item, then scout. So we're going to discard a lockpicking counter. Oh, wait. What am I saying? We have the Dire Wolf item, which is ignore the effect of a single non-tyrant baddie for the remainder of this engagement. We're going to do then Goblin Artificer, Troll Hermit, and we do get to see, before we choose, Bog Ribbits is the one here, -1 each time you use your backup plan. Now, we haven't used our backup plan yet, so our backup plan, we can discard one of these. I was focused on trying to upgrade Duster, but maybe given how that's going, we can discard, basically exhaust one of these, I should say. So I've been focused on the backup plan because I was focused on trying to upgrade Duster by getting all 4, but it's during activation, adjust the BQ by 1 up or down. So we could get rid of this green one to not bring in another baddie, although both of these are only 1 point. And the Bog Ribbits, the instant reward is slot 1 exhausted die into your backup plan. So if we defeated him, we could get that and upgrade in this battle. It's a little bit of a risk, but we could also leave him because he's only 1 hit. Okay, so we're going to bring him into battle as well. We're going to use our Dire Wolf, ignore the effect of a single non-tyrant baddie for the remainder of this engagement. So we're going to ignore the effect of the Goblin Artificer that at the end of the engagement, roll an exhausted die from your die pool if you miss -1 health. So we're just going to put that there as a reminder of that. And then the Troll Hermit at the start of the battle, -2 to the health of any other active baddie. So the Goblin Artificer is down to 2 already. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7 that we need to do. We obviously are going to do all 6 of these. Okay, so we could do that there, but we have this when we defeat Bog Ribbits, we can take an exhausted die into the backup plan because we may need this to defeat. Okay, so if we defeat the Troll Hermit, we get to recover 1 die. So we could get a purple back into our hands. So let's do 2. Okay, now Goblin Artificer also has, if there are any misses in the active area, banish 1 of them. Okay, so let's just roll these again. So this is our second of our strategy phase. We have no others to commit, so ooh, this is good. So this is 4. Killed the Troll Hermit. The immediate effect is recover 1 die. Recover 1 into our die pool. And then we can take this other one. So the Goblin Artificer only has 2, and we can either increase strategy or recovery. We need to get dice back. So we're going to increase recovery to 5. And he is defeated. Okay. I'm going to game the system here a little bit. We're going to do this here. And then once per game, we can exhaust all of these to upgrade. And we're going to do that now. So we get to go up 1 stamina and 1 recovery, so we're at the max of 6 recovery. And then now we're going to apply this hit to the bog. Oh, actually that does count as using our backup plan. So we're actually going to bring this back. We're not going to do that first. So we're going to kill Bog Ribbit first. We get to slot 1 exhausted die into our backup plan. So this one here actually goes there and becomes the 4th one instead of that. And then now we would have done it because we don't want to lose a health. We've been very low on health. And so then we upgraded. So I didn't get a game the system like I wanted, but we have not been able to hold on to our health. Okay, and then kind of sucks for us though because we now have to apply the after effect. If there are any misses in the active area, banish 1 of them. So we're going to get this other yellow die banished. So don't know if that's worth it. It is the weakest ones. We potentially could recover 1, but that's kind of where we are. We may just end up going to fight the Tyrant now because we are in a challenging position with our health, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so now we exhaust the dice. So all of these go here. And that's a lot of them, but we have the full 6 recovery now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take our strongest ones, 5, 6. We have item, but all of our rewards were instantaneous. So we're just into cleanup, which all of these, because it was a battle day, we get to choose to scout or we get a health. So let's just look and see what our enemies are that are revealed. So Kobold Lieutenant, at the end of the engagement, -1 health if this baddie is defeated, but undefeated baddies remain. The reward is stamina. And then this is Vile Mushroom, -1 health each time you slot a die into your backup plan. So we could definitely avoid doing that. And then slot 1 exhausted die into your backup plan as the instant reward. So the next is going to be 8. So we do 5, 6, 7, and then 1 more. We already have 2 of the Tyrant encounters in here. Now we're going to be on day 8, so we could say maybe we're strong enough, but the problem is this. Now we can look at Barnacle anytime. So if we fought him now, we would have the 2 tentacles that are here. He has 8 health, 2 damage each round. We only have 2 health. Hits cannot be applied into Barnacle until all the tentacles are defeated. At the start of each engagement, if Barnacle is the only active baddie, choose one of the following options. Discard an item or -1 to stat. Now we do have 2 items, so that's not too bad. I think we should maybe risk it, in which case we would want to increase our health, unless we want to try. So this would be 4, 5, 6, 7. There might be another one, 8. I think, well, it depends on what the tentacles are, whether we could defeat them or not. I think in the end, though, to finish this day, we are just going to take the 1 health, and then we're at day 8. And so now we can actually make that decision. So we can recover 6. Now we could, I don't know if we can do this. So this is in the first engagement of the battle. Red, purple, and blue cannot be applied, which is all we have. So we can't really do that. We are up to 4 stamina though. So I wonder if we should go ahead, because if we defeat this one, we get another stamina. So we can keep rolling. So we get down to the 1 damage. We'll maybe do 2 rounds of engagement, which we haven't really done, and it's primarily been because our health has been so low, so we couldn't really risk it. But we could end up in a better position at the end of this battle and then have additional stamina. Oh, and we also have Duster's innate ability, which is in the suffered damage phase, either reduce the damage suffered by 1. So with Barnacle, if there were another baddie, you could reduce by 1, but we could potentially recover one of our banished die this time. So we have to do 8. Oh no, wait. Coil and Darkstalker skip the recovery dice step. And that happens regardless. So we don't want to fight them. And we have to do 3 1-pointers. You know, I think we're just going to try to do Barnacle. And maybe we do several rounds with Barnacle. So we'll do Barnacle, and then collect all Tyrant encounters still in the deck. The tentacles face up. These are the tentacles. So we have Tentacle 6, which is just, 1/1. So that's not too bad. And then we only have one more here. And that is Tentacle 8. Dice cannot be applied to any other baddie except for this one, and that's 3/2. So those are actually not that bad. So I think we're going to be okay. I think we have a good shot at this, actually. We're at day 8, so we're allowed to do this. So he turns over. So hits cannot be applied in Barnacle until all the tentacles are defeated. At the start of each engagement, if Barnacle is the only active baddie, choose one of the following. So discard an item, which we have 2 items. I think we may just be okay with a couple of rounds of engagement. Let's see what happens. So we're going to commit all of these, obviously. So we get to roll 4 times. Tentacle 8 says we can't apply any dice except to it, so that's 2. And we'll do 3. So Tentacle 8's out. We'll do 1 here. So that one's out. We'll do 2 more here. And then we have 3 more times that we can re-roll. So we have a really good shot. So that's 4. That was the second time. This is the 3rd time. So now if we can get a critical in blue, then we're going to kill him now. Otherwise, we're going to do another round, and you'll get to see what that looks like finally. All right, so we'll go ahead and apply this, because that means we can just recover 6 from there. So we apply hits. These are defeated. We would get 2 hits from Barnacle. The suffer damage step either reduce the damage suffered by 1, so that was what we were going to do, but actually we're going to do the other one. After suffering damage, which would be 2, deal the same amount of damage to a baddie if it would be defeated by this damage. So we're going to go down to 1 from 3 to 1, and then we're going to bounce back that damage, and Barnacle is defeated. Things kind of worked out. We got rid of 2 of the tentacles, which was very helpful. We actually got rid of 3 of them, but we put 1 back in to give us that. So that wasn't too bad in the end, but definitely in the middle it was hairy. Getting to the end was a little challenging with some challenging decisions, but it worked out. Now there is a guide in the back about increasing difficulty. This is the base difficulty that I was playing at now, and it was okay. So this is Too Many Bones iteration of 20 strong. I really enjoy the game. It's kind of amazing the fun different choices you make, and as I mentioned at the beginning, this is very different than Solar Sentinels and Hoplomachus Victorum. I will do playthroughs of those as well so you can see what they look like. And yeah, thank you for being here, and please like and subscribe. Otherwise, Barnacle's remaining tentacles that are out there someplace are going to like reach for you and pull you into the water, and drowning sucks, so don't do that. Just like and subscribe, my gosh. Anyway, just remember, the only rule is that there are no rules, except in board games. I mean, look at all of these rules. There's a lot of them. There's like pages of them. I mean, they're really small pages, but there's a lot of pages.